Well, it was nice while it lasted, but our spring preview has gone by the wayside, at least for the time being. Good evening, everyone. I'm Eric Wilhelm here with weather for Weather Geeks. We're going to deep dive into our local weather here, and it was a topsy-turvy day today. A lot of times in the winter, we have these backwards days where our highest temperature occurs at a weird time of the day. It was still in the upper 50s at 4, 5, 6 o'clock this morning, and then the bottom fell out starting around lunchtime, and as you got out of the office or got out of school late this afternoon or early this evening, it felt a lot different out there as promised. And yeah, 24-hour temperature change numbers nationwide. We've got a pretty impressive number here. It's 22 degrees cooler than the 6 o'clock hour on Monday. 31 degrees cooler in St. Louis. Albuquerque, the leader in the clubhouse here, at 32 degrees colder than this same time yesterday. That being said, because it's been warm lately, even though we have a cold, miserable rain falling this evening, the road temperatures are still elevated, mostly in the upper 30s and lower 40s. So while you're going to see some wet snowflakes and some sleet pellets and that cold, miserable rain this evening, roads should be just fine. But yeah, it's not very nice outside with air temperatures around 33 and rain falling in a lot of spots this evening. Where you see some of the pinks and purples, of course, that means the radar algorithm's picking up on some sort of a wintry mix. And I think this is kind of a combo of the rain, few ice pellets or sleet pellets, some wet snowflakes. You know, I don't think freezing rain is going to be any sort of a big problem this evening, but technically we could have a brief period where we have some freezing rain and the air temperature around 31 degrees. This is just the start of a very unsettled few days across a lot of the country east of the Mississippi especially. A lot of precipitation out there this evening. Low pressure is getting set to develop out towards the Arklatex, and as this gets better organized and comes east, it's going to start dragging in some deeper moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, and that's going to result in a heavy rain threat and a severe weather threat for some places. Not here, but severe weather threat tomorrow into tomorrow night for New Orleans and Jackson, Mississippi, up towards Birmingham, and perhaps as far east as Atlanta. And then everything shifts east on Thursday, so Charlotte, Raleigh, Columbia, Charleston, down to Savannah and Jacksonville, all places that could have some heavy gusty storms on Thursday. Flash flood risk extending up into extreme southern Ohio over the next 24 hours or so. Higher risk down towards the Tennessee Valley, into parts of of Dixie Alley in the deep south, and then, yeah, pretty high risk of flooding problems in the southern Appalachians and across the Piedmont of North and South Carolina on Thursday and into Thursday night. Again, not concerned about flooding around here, but we will have kind of a miserable evening with the weather. Things will quiet down overnight. We'll just be left with clouds as Wednesday gets underway, but I do think we'll see some sun as high pressure barely pays us a visit tomorrow, just scooting by to the north and just providing enough dry air to allow for some sun midday into the afternoon tomorrow. It'll be halfway decent outside, but then clouds roll in again late in the day. Now, as we go into tomorrow night, kind of a tricky situation here as precipitation returns. The air aloft will be above freezing by a fair margin. 5,000 feet above our heads, temperatures will be in the 40s. Problem is we don't live 5,000 feet above our heads. Down here at the ground, the temperature will be around 30 or 31 in a lot of spots for a handful of hours tomorrow night and into the wee hours of Thursday morning. So I think we're going to have some freezing rain, and this will wind down very early in the day Thursday. So the big question is, what kind of an impact will this have for anybody who's out late tomorrow night, and especially during the peak rush hour Thursday morning? Not expecting super high impacts from this during the heart of rush hour Thursday morning. So as a lot of school buses are running Thursday morning, 7 to 8 o'clock or so, don't think this will be highly impactful. As a lot of people head to the office, if you work a 9 to 5 kind of a job Thursday, you're heading off to work at 8, 8:30, you'll be just fine. But if you work an early morning shift or an overnight shift even, and you'll be out on the roads at midnight, 1 a.m., even as late as maybe 3, 4, 5 o'clock Thursday morning, you're going to have to watch for some slick spots, especially on elevated surfaces, untreated surfaces, things like that. This is not an ice storm. This is not freezing rain falling into air that's going to be 27 degrees. It's going to be 30, 31. And then temperatures will start to rise above freezing, maybe as early as 5 o'clock or so. And by, again, the heart of rush hour, not only is the precipitation trying to taper off, by 8 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, it'll probably be 36, 37 degrees in a lot of the area. Here's our model spread for ice accretion. What we mean by that is basically the thickness of ice that may be trying to stick to things, tree limbs, power lines, etc. The NAM has a bias of spitting out too much ice, so it's not surprising to see that model jump up probably too high. I think we're more in the 1/10 of an inch at worst, ice secretion, and that mostly is not that big of a deal. When we talk about the ice severity index here, we're probably at a 0 to a 1, kind of in this zone, with a tenth to at most maybe 2/10 of an inch worth of ice, and not a lot of wind problems to cause power outage problems. So when we're talking about a 1 on this ice severity index, isolated or localized utility interruptions, I think that'd be a worst case scenario. I don't think that's all that likely. Again, roads, some roads, a lot of bridges could have some slick spots, especially if they're not treated. And again, this is very, very early in the day on Thursday. Rest of Thursday will be okay. We'll get into the 40s in a lot of spots. Little rain might try to return towards the end of the day. A lot of that's going to be to our south and east. And then a blustery and colder day Friday. It's going to actually feel like a classic midwinter day Friday with wind chills, mostly around 20. And I wouldn't even be surprised if we got an inch or two of snow in some spots on Friday, with some residual snow showers and maybe a little lake enhancement. We'll have more details on that once we get through our icy situation tomorrow night. The beat goes on in the longer range with spring really planting itself firmly across the southeast. I mean, things are going to be blooming like crazy down towards Augusta and maybe as far north as even Charlotte over the next couple of weeks, while deep, deep winter continues out west. I mean, the mountains, just piles of snow and really cold temperatures in the mountains of the Rockies, out into the Cascades and into the Sierra Nevada mountains of California as well. For us, we're in that zone in between where we're not going to be in the heart of the cold. We're not going to be in the heart of the spring-like warmth, and that means we'll probably have a pretty active storm track moving like this as we go through the next couple of weeks. Frequent bouts of precipitation. Does that mean frequent bouts of snow? I kind of doubt it, but maybe some additional mixed precipitation chances like we're going to have over the next couple of days. So it looks like an unsettled period, but not a very cold period by February standards. You've heard me say that a lot of late. Well, coming up tomorrow, we'll get our look at the European model seasonal monthly outlooks. So in other words, what it thinks will happen for the rest of February. And that model, that set of modeling did really well globally in January. It nailed the temperature regime globally in January. So it'll be real interesting to see what it displays for the month of February. By the way, the January climate numbers are starting to come in, and it looks like globally January of 2020 will be essentially tied with January of 2016 as the warmest January on record globally. We'll have more climate information, no doubt, coming out over the next couple of days, as we always do during the first week of the month. That'll do it for me tonight. Thanks for hanging with me on a long edition of Weather for Weather Geeks. I'll see you back here on Wednesday.